You are the only kind of human alive. Right now, on the whole planet, that is not normal. For almost all of human history, there were several. Not several tribes, several kinds. Different bodies, different skulls, different hands. 300,000 years ago, you could have met 4. They were not all our ancestors. Most were our neighbors. Some of them we met. Some of them we had children with. And then, one by one, they stopped. The last went about 40,000 years ago. Since then, there has been one kind of human. 40,000 years sounds long. It is not. It is about 1% of the human story. So, a countdown, 10 other kinds of human from 10 down to 1. The order is not how old they are. The order is how much of them is left. Number 10 has hundreds of skeletons. We have read their whole DNA. Number 1 has nothing. No bone, no cave, no name. Only a mark inside people alive today. Everyone is a real disappearance. Every claim has a name and a date on it. Where scientists disagree, this says so. Where nobody knows what happened, it says that too, which is most of them. That is the hard part. All of them were people. They made tools. They carried their children. Some buried their dead. And then the record just stops. No battle layer, no ash, nothing. They thin out and they are gone. We are counting down what is left, starting with the ones we know best. Number 10, the Neanderthals, the one you have heard of. They held Europe and Western Asia for 400,000 years. That is longer than we have existed. The last died about 40,000 years ago. Almost everyone pictures them wrong. The picture is a stooped, grunting brute. It is not accurate. Their brains averaged slightly larger than ours. They made glue by heating birch bark. That takes planning and heat control. And they looked after people who could not hunt. So what happened? The honest answer is that they thinned out. Their groups were small and far apart. One Siberian skeleton shows it plainly. Its parents were half-siblings. Svante Pääbo's team found that in 2014, small groups carry less variety. Less variety means every bad year costs more. In 2010, the same team read the whole Neanderthal genome. The first extinct human ever read, and it showed something nobody expected. We had children together. For years, people said we killed them. There is no evidence for that. No battle layer. No sudden break in the record. There is not even one date when they all go. Tom Hyam's team dated the last sites in 2014. They go out at different times in different places. Some regions empty thousands of years apart. That is not a war. That is a fade. And they did not entirely go. Almost everyone alive carries a little of their DNA. That includes people in Africa, which surprised everyone, not because Neanderthals were ever there. People carried it back in much later. Joshua Akey's team worked that out in 2020. They are the only ones here you can find without digging. You can find them in a cheek swab. Number 9 is the opposite problem. Number 9, Homo erectus, the longest-running kind of human ever. They appear about 2 million years ago. 100,000 years ago, they were still here. Nearly 2 million years of one species. Almost everyone files them as a stage. A rung on a ladder up to us. That is backwards. Homo erectus was not a draft of us. It lasted 6 times longer than we have. We are 300,000 years old, and they were alive while we existed. They were the first humans out of Africa. Some got as far as Java. They had a body built for walking all day. Long legs, narrow hips, a chest like ours. They made one stone hand-axe design for 1 million years. Same shape, same method, 3 continents. A design that outlived every language ever spoken. The first one was found in 1891. A Dutch doctor, Eugene Dubois, dug it up on Java. He went looking for a missing link and found one. The last of them is a site called Ngandong. Russell Siochin and Jan Rizzle dated it in 2020. About 110,000 years ago. What ended them, there was not a disaster. The forest changed. Their open woodland filled in with rainforest. The animals they hunted moved or died out. They did not follow. There is no violence in that layer. Just a habitat closing over. 2 million years of success, ended by trees. Being good at surviving is not the same as being safe. Nothing here was doing badly until it ended. Number 8. A hole in the ground in northern Spain. The site is called Cima de los Huesos. It means the pit of bones. You crawl through a cave for half a kilometer, then a shaft straight down 13 meters. That is a 4-story drop in the dark. At the bottom of it are people. This is not a cemetery and not a home. There is no fireplace down there. There is no food waste. Almost nothing was dropped by accident. 1 hand axe of red quartzite and nothing else like it. The diggers nicknamed it Excalibur. 28 people are down there. That is more than a school class. Most were teenagers or young adults. That is the wrong age mix for accidents. Accidents take the very young and the very old. This took the strong ones. Juan Luis Arzuaga has dug it since the 80s. 7,000 pieces of bone have come out. It is 430,000 years old. In 2016, Matthias Mayer got DNA out of it. They were early Neanderthals. 1 skull from the pit is famous. It has 2 holes in the front of it. Both are the same shape. Both are in the same place. Nobody falls twice. Nohemi Sala published that in 2015. She reads it as the earliest killing we can name. So did they fall or were they put there? 40 years of digging has not settled it. Every explanation has a hole in it. Whatever happened at the top of that shaft is that old, and we do not have a word for it. Number 7 is stranger still. Number 7, Homo naledi. Found in a cave near Johannesburg in 2013. 2 cavers pushed into a deep chamber and found bones. To reach it, you squeeze through a gap 18 centimeters wide. That is narrower than most people's shoulders. Here is what everyone got wrong. A human with half our brain should be very old. Naledi is not. The bones are 300,000 years old, the same window as the first people like us. A small-brained human, alive alongside us. Its feet are almost identical to yours. Its hands are mostly modern. But the fingers curve like something that climbs, and the brain is about the size of an orange. Lee Berger described the species in 2015. There are 1,500 pieces of bone down there, at least 15 people of every age. Babies, children, adults, old, and nobody can explain how they got there. No sign of water carrying them in. No sign of animals dragging them in. No other entrance has ever been found. In 2023, Berger's team said the answer was burial. That naledi carried its dead down on purpose, and that it carved marks into the wall. That claim is disputed and worth flagging. The journal's own reviewers called the evidence inadequate. Others published formal replies saying the same. So the honest position is this. 15 people are at the bottom of a cave. We do not know how, and whatever put them there had a brain the size of an orange. Number 6 is smaller still. Number 6, Homo floresiensis, an Indonesian island called Flores in a cave called Liang Bua. An adult woman, fully grown, 1 meter 6. That is the height of an average 5-year-old. Her brain was about a chimpanzee's size. The Hobbit. The objections came just as fast. For 10 years, serious scientists argued she was a sick modern human. It was a real argument, not a silly one. 1 small skeleton is thin evidence. The wrist ended it. In 2007, Matthew Totchery looked at the wrist bones. They are shaped like an ape's wrist. Ours changed shape millions of years ago. No disease turns a modern wrist into an older one. You cannot catch an ancient wrist. Peter Brown and Mike Morwood published her in 2004. So why was she so small? Islands shrink things. An animal arrives, the island is small, food is short. Big is expensive. Over enough generations, big gets small. There were dwarf elephants on Flores too. They stood no taller than a pony. The first date said 18,000 years ago. That put her well inside our own time. Then in 2016, Thomas Sudikna dated the cave again. The bones are much older, closer to 60,000 years, and that date is uncomfortable. 60,000 years is roughly when we reach that region. Every time we arrive somewhere, this list shortens. That is not proof of anything. It is a pattern that keeps showing up. Number 5 is on another island. Number 5, Homo luzonensis. 13 bones and teeth from 1 Philippine cave. That is the entire species. Most kinds of human here are known from fragments. This one is not a fragment of something bigger. 13 pieces is all there is. 7 teeth, 2 hand bones, 3 foot bones, 1 thigh. You could hold the whole species in 1 hand. The cave is Callao on the island of Luzon. The first piece came out in 2007. A foot bone, 67,000 years old. For years, everyone assumed a small modern human. Then more pieces came out of the same layer, and the teeth were wrong. They are small, like ours, but the shape of them is old. The finger and toe bones are wrong too. They are curved. Curved bones like that belong to a climber. Florent Detroit published the species in 2019. There is no DNA. A warm, wet cave takes DNA apart in a few thousand years. Siberia keeps it. The tropics do not. The question we answer for Neanderthals, we cannot even ask. We cannot find out whether they met us, or whether they are inside anyone. 13 pieces and no way to get more. 2 islands, 2 small kinds of human, both gone. Both lasted a long time in isolation. Both end around the time we pass through. That is 2 cases, not a verdict. Number 4 is the one that got taken back. Number 4, the Red Deer Cave people, southwest China in a cave in Yunnan. The bones are 14,000 years old. That is by far the youngest date here. 14,000 years ago is not deep prehistory. People were already making pottery, and the skulls looked wrong. Heavy brow ridges, flat faces. Those are old features on a very young skull. In 2012, Darren Kernow and Jai Zuping published them. Both were careful about it. They did not name a new species. They said the mix of features was hard to explain. And that one possibility was another kind of human, surviving late. That possibility got picked up everywhere. Another kind of human, still here that recently. Then in 2022, Zhang Xiaoming got DNA from one of those skulls, and the answer came back plain. It is us, Homo sapiens, on the line leading toward East Asia and the first Americans. No new species, so why is it in the countdown? Because this is the one that shows the method working. A claim was made carefully. It was tested. It did not survive, and the field said so. The reason to believe number 3 is that number 4 was allowed to fail. Every other item passed a test, this one did not. That is what a fact looks like when it is doing its job. Number 3 spent 85 years down a well. Number 3, a single skull from Harbin in northeast China. It is the largest human skull ever found. The space inside held a brain the size of yours. In 1933, a laborer was building a bridge over a river. Japanese forces were occupying that part of China. He found the skull in the riverbank, and he decided not to hand it over. He dropped it down a disused well and covered it. It stayed there for 85 years. None of that is how science is supposed to work. The best other human skull on Earth spent a lifetime in a hole. He told his family just before he died. They brought it to a museum in 2018. In 2021, a Chinese team published it. Zhai Qiang and Nai Zijun gave it a name, Homo longi. Dragon Man, after a province named for a black dragon. It is at least 146,000 years old. It looks like neither us nor a Neanderthal. A huge brow, a wide face, square eye sockets, and a modern-sized brain behind it. Then in 2025, the story changed again. Fu Kaiomai went after the hardened plaque on its teeth. They pulled DNA out of it. They pulled proteins out of the bone. Both said the same thing. This is a Denisovan, which reopened an argument still running. If Harbin is a Denisovan, what do we call it? 2 names, 1 skull, and no agreement yet. For 85 years, another human's face was down a well. Nobody knew it was missing, which raises an obvious question about the rest. Number 2 was found in a fingertip. Number 2, the Denisovans. In 2008, in a Siberian cave, someone found a piece of finger bone, the tip of a little finger from a girl. It is smaller than a shirt button. Every other kind of human here was named from a body. A skull, a jaw, a skeleton. This one was named from DNA. In 2010, Johannes Krause read the DNA passed down the mother's line. And it matched nothing. Not us, not Neanderthals, something else entirely. Later that year, David Reich read the rest of it. A whole kind of human described from a fingertip. No face, no height, no idea what they looked like. In 2019, Chen Fahu described a jawbone from Tibet. A monk found it in a cave 3 kilometers up. There was no DNA left in it. They identified it from the proteins instead. That jawbone is at least 160,000 years old. So Denisovans lived in thin air long before we got there. And then the girl in the next layer of that cave. Vivienne Sloan published her in 2018. Her mother was a Neanderthal. Her father was a Denisovan, not distant ancestry. Her actual parents. We still have no Denisovan skeleton. A fingertip, a jawbone, some teeth, a great deal of DNA. And they are not gone the way the others are. Their DNA is carried by people alive today, highest in the Pacific. Until 2010, nobody knew they existed. Not a name, not a rumor, nothing. An entire kind of human, invisible 15 years ago, which brings us to the last one. And the last one has no bones at all. Number 1, there is no cave for this one. No skull, no jawbone, no fingertip. There is no name. And there is a serious argument about whether they existed. Start with something true of everyone. Every living person carries DNA from a kind of human that is gone. If your family is from outside Africa, some is Neanderthal. In parts of the Pacific, some is Denisovan. And Joshua Akey found Neanderthal DNA in African genomes too. So this is not a story about difference. It is a story about what everybody lost. In 2022, researchers looked at DNA from 4 West African populations. Aran Dervasula and Sruram Sankararaman. They looked for stretches that do not fit, and they found them. Long sections that do not come from us, and do not come from Neanderthals, and do not come from Denisovans. The pattern matches interbreeding with a 4th kind of human, one that split from our line before Neanderthals did. Now the honest part. There is a second explanation, and it fits just as well. Aaron Ragsdale's team published it in 2023. Africa may never have had one single ancestral population. It may have had several, drifting apart and rejoining for ages. Never separate enough to be a different kind. Never joined enough to be one people. That leaves the same marks in the DNA. No ghost required. Nobody has told those two apart yet, so where are they? Nobody has ever found one. Not a tooth, not a skull fragment, nothing. And that is not surprising. Bone survives in dry caves and cold ground. West and Central Africa are warm, wet, and forested. Acid soil takes bone apart. The fossil record is not a map of where people lived. It is a map of where bone happens to last. So that is the end of the countdown. Either a kind of human with nothing left, or a shape in our past we cannot resolve. No bones, no tools, no site to visit. The only trace left is other people, carried by people with no idea they carry it. That is the whole inheritance. 10 kinds of human, and this is the quietest ending. Not a battle, not a disaster. Just absorption, a few thousand years, and nobody remembers. So what erased them? 10 disappearances and no single answer. Number 10 faded out in small groups and was absorbed. Number 9 lost its woodland to a forest. Number 8 ended down a shaft, and nobody knows why. Number 7 is down a cave, and nobody knows how. Number 6 and 5 were island populations that ran out of island. Number 4 turned out to be us. Number 3 spent a century down a well. Number 2 was invisible until 15 years ago, and number 1 has never been found. Notice what is missing from that list. There is no war. There is no massacre layer. There is no single event. The most common ending is the least dramatic. Small numbers, bad luck, a climate that moved, and a larger population folding them in. That is a strange thing to sit with. We have no story for extinction by absorption. Our stories are about being beaten. This was mostly about being outnumbered. Almost everything here was found in the last 20 years. Denisovans, luzonensis, naledi, the skull in the well, the ghost. All of it is new, which means the list is not finished. For almost all of human history, being human was plural. There was always more than one kind of you. That ended about 40,000 years ago, and nobody alive has known anything else. We are not the winners of anything. We are just the only ones left to notice.